Hi, welcome. We are doing a presentation today on dairy farming basics. So we are going to jump in. I will say that I am no expert on this. I did read a textbook on dairy farming, dairy cows, and then I just had a few brief days at a local farm. They were looking for someone to help with milking at the holiday season, so I offered to help. And so I am not the expert here, but I did reach out to them, the people I was working with, to see if I could make a presentation and using some of the pictures that I had taken, and they said that was fine. So the photos were taken at Kraus Holstein's. Um, Down in the Buffalo area. So special thanks to them. We will just jump right in. So it's a very, very basic presentation, to kind of get you in the mindset, kind of get you in the rhetoric a little bit. These are dairy cows. These cows, this is actually a calf specifically. You can tell that it's not quite at the mature age, because it is smaller, of course. But they have tags in their ears for identification. You can see the numbers there. And they also note who their father is, just so that way they can keep track, based on, just based on how many gallons are milked, how big they are, and things like that. So that just helps to know kind of what to expect in way of growth and production. These are the newborn calves. They are dairy cows have had calves within the last year or so. They need to have had calves to have been pregnant in order for them to be able to give milk biologically. It is still, um, they still need to be pregnant and have babies to give us that milk. It is um, meant for their young, and the young do actually get to partake in that milk still, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So these are the newborns. They are separated while they learn to stand and walk, so they're not trampled underfoot with all of the bigger cows, and they're kept safe. This is also where the horns are removed. I think it was said that they just use a special chemical on the horn area to keep them from growing in. And that is for the cow safety. They are in close quarters, and if they get angry, um, and have scuffles, we want to make sure that all of the cows are safe and taken care of. So that's why they remove those horns right away. But you can see these are just different stalls until they can kind of safely stand and balance for themselves. And these are little containers where they have their bottles. They are bottle fed, and they get their colostrum. Colostrum is the first milk after the cow gives birth. So it's supposed to be very, very nutritious and very good for sustainability for that cow. If, it's supposed to keep them healthy and give them that best step forward after they are born. So they do say that colostrum milk. It is, you can buy it. You can buy it. It is for sale. Too, oftentimes if they have extra, I've actually seen it in local pharmacies. They've been incorporating colostrum into health foods for human beings also, because they are supposed to be so rich in vitamins and minerals, and they are supposed to be very beneficial for the newborns. And so I've not looked into studies for human use, but that is something kind of interesting also. But you can see that they just have little stands here where you put the bottle in, and then you kind of guide the calf's nose to the nipple of the bottle. And once the calf has started sucking, you can do the next one, and kind of just make sure that they all get their nice, nutritious milk. After a few days, the newborns do get to join their friends in a larger area. There's a more open space, and you can see that they have the hay down as a protective, you know, barrier. Underfoot, but they have that larger area. These are slightly older calves. They are still bottle fed. This particular facility has a machine for feeding the bottles to to the cows. It's pretty cool actually, and it monitors, what cow comes and drinks from it. But it is um, it's pretty cool. Um, so they we have um, all of them in this area. They do wear these blue jackets. You can see that in the previous slide also. The newborn calves have them as well, and they can keep the calves warm. There might be some compression therapy there as well, to make them feel safe and supported. Also warm, so they've got those little cute jackets, even when they're in their group setting and a little bit bigger. Um, but they've got their milk, and they also have a water station as well. Black calves are not used for milking, and so they're generally sold and will eventually be used for meat. These ones were kept separately in a separate area, but they do still have their little boxes for the bottle feeding, and these ones are still bottle fed. So they do have some black calves that are born. Calves can also be kept in houses like this in warmer weather, just outdoors, little huts for inclement weather. But if it's nice out. This one was not in use when the photo was taken. It's not prime time summer in this photo, um, so it's just cool to see the different options they have available to them in way of housing and shelter for the animals. Adult cows can also be kept pinned outdoors or in the barn when it's cold. So this was a nice day and they're all out enjoying themselves. They've got some fresh hay laid out for them, and they can also be fed the pellet feed or dried mixed veggies. The calves indoors were also, once they got a little bit bigger, this entire area was um, surrounded by a bar that had pellets, had the solid feed in them, so that way they could eat the real food as well as having the bottles. It's an introductory, um, get curious, try the real food, and eventually they will kind of move on to the real food, and that will be their primary source. But this is kind of the line of the hay here of of what they would feed the adults. The one thing about the mixed veggies, if you have like the dried corn pieces mixed with the other seeds and what have you for the cows, um, some of them can kind of pick out what they want to eat. And so they might not get the full nutritional spectrum covered. If they don't like corn, they might try for the other pieces. And so that's why they might recommend pellets over those dried veggies. And just because um, they can be particular just like humans can be. So if you want them to eat all of it, pellets might be suggested, but it's up to you for what your cows will eat and what makes sense, cost wise and resource wise, and so I'm sure a lot of variables do go into that decision. as to what they're going to be fed when. Obviously, silage is also feed for cows. You can have you can have them out on the range and they can just you know, eat, as they so choose, free range type. Um, Clovers are good for cows. Um, just whatever happens to be in the fields, they can kind of munch on and keep going. Um, but then it is kind of tougher to monitor just what nutrition they have and are getting, which might affect milk production also. So a bunch of variables that you can keep in mind. This is where the cows will line up in order to be milked. This is the side building, and they will line up. It's a number of cows kind of just getting um, going through the side channels here, and then it'll slowly become one cow, one cow, one cow. They'll go through here, and then they'll make their way into the milking parlor. And this is the milking parlor where the cows line up to be milked. There is a hose so you can kind of wash them down a little bit if they have mud on them, or if there's mud on their where their standing platform, you can kind of wash that down. They're outdoors during the day, and so you want to make sure that they're clean just for best practices. But this is a pretty cool facility. They've got these machines here. These are the udders, and these cows were pregnant and they gave birth, and so the udders can be swollen. Um, and so that's something to bear in mind. They can be very tender. There's a kick bar here, which the cows are meant to kick that and not you when you are putting on this mechanical milker here. It stays on with, these are all suction cups. They're kind of vacuums that will suck the milk up. But before you put these on, you do need to sanitize the udders. There's a special antiseptic that you let sit for X amount of time, and then you'll wipe it off as that added step because you don't want that in the milk. And you do want to kind of um, strip the udder a little bit. You want to get just a couple squirts of that milk out. You check for mastitis before you milk. And that can be seen. Mastitis is, is just it's an infection of the udders, and it has, you can see it because it's got chunks in the milk. So or it can be kind of yellowish, it can be off colored. But you check first. You always want to check as a safety precaution, see if there's mastitis, um, and then some cows too might have damaged udders that can no longer milk, or various things can go wrong per any standard pregnancy, or per any standard milking. And so in those circumstances, you can um, you can just simply kind of swap out one of the mechanical milkers, just to keep that vacuum off of the udder. And you just fold it backwards essentially. And these have an automatic release. Once the cow has slowed down and stopped um, providing milk, they will kind of fall off, and they'll just kind of boop, they just fall off. And um, more often than not, sometimes they might stick a little bit, but it's pretty efficient actually. And then there is a, a separate place for like colostrum, that first milk after giving birth. Um, it goes in a separate jug because that is needed for the newborns. And then um, there's also a separate bin for the mastitis milk, or because you do still need to get that out of the udder, because if you don't express that milk, it's going to cause the cow extreme discomfort, and normally the babies, would be naturally drinking from that udder regardless of the mastitis, like out in nature. So, or, it's, um, so it does still need to come out. Otherwise, the poor cow could be very uncomfortable. So you do need to take it out, and the cows still can drink that milk, but that's not for human consumption. So they do have separate jugs here, um, for miscellaneous milks. Are there any questions? Oh, I should say, I guess, special thanks to Cross Hostings. Um, this, I will say that after all the cows have been through, they do wash this down. The milk that is taken from um, the um, the mechanical milker gets brought to a separate holding tank where I think it undergoes, various processes to make it safe for delivery to, the next step in the manufacturing chain. So it does just go to a separate holding tank in another area. And that is checked at the end of the milking session and cleaned off, um, and so lots of little cleanup things as well. Everything's washed down with the sprayers, and um, so it's a pretty cool process. But they can do it, 2, 3 times a day. And, it takes what, 1 to 2 hours every day, and, for each milking session. So it can be, it's definitely a commitment to have that many cows who have given birth, who need to, let their milk down, and, on that regular basis. So it is important. And I read a textbook on dairy cows, and they said that, cows are the foster mothers of the human race, because of how much milk that we use, drink, we use in our dairy products. And so they really do take care of us. And so it's something that we want to respect and appreciate and cultivate in a sustainable, as safe way as we can. So it's important to know how these things work out. Actually, it's so important. So with that, any questions? I did want to again say a special thanks to Kraus Holsteins. It was a very fun experience, and I would have loved to have learned more about their facility. Like I said, I was only there for a few days, a couple weekends, I think, but it was great to be out there. So, any questions?